Hey everyone, it's Tyler the Antenna Man. Over the weekend, I gave a presentation at the National Television Association convention in Reno, Nevada about the current state and the future of free over-the-air TV. The NTA is an organization made up of mostly TV station owners and engineers with the goal of bringing free over-the-air TV to as many areas as possible, no matter how small. If you'd like to learn more about the National Television Association and how you can help support it, visit nationaltranslatorAssociation.org. This year's NTA convention featured over a dozen presentations from industry professionals on the subjects of broadcast equipment, FCC regulations, ATSC 3.0, and more. I was chosen as the keynote speaker to end the convention and gave a presentation that turned out much better than I expected. While it wasn't filmed, the audio was recorded, so I figured to make a video with the original slideshow for everyone to see. Here it is.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler. I run the YouTube channel Antenna Man, and this presentation is going to be about the state of affairs for free over-the-air TV currently in the United States. So a little bit about myself. I've been a TV antenna enthusiast hobbyist since I was age 5. Growing up, I experimented with antennas. I was just fascinated by free over-the-air TV, the fact that these images and videos were traveling through invisible airwaves and being picked up by this really small piece of metal connected to a TV set. And ironically, when I was 8 years old, when I got my first TV, my dad decided to move from on top of a mountain in Pocono Summit, Pennsylvania, to behind a mountain. And it killed me because my first TV, I got it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get all these channels. And I got nothing. And so I spent years, it was such a challenge trying to get all these stations, just something over the air. And sure enough, years of experimentation gave me a good knowledge about free over-the-air TV. Ironically, I studied film and video in college. I don't have an engineering background, so it's not like I studied, specific broadcast engineering. My goal was originally to be a videographer, either for local news or to film live sports. I did a little bit of each in college through internships, but decided after I graduated to start my own business filming weddings. While I was filming weddings, I installed antennas on the side for extra income because I had knowledge about free over-the-air TV, and I felt bad for people complaining about their cable bill. I'm like, well, you could get all these channels with an antenna. And they're like, really? And I was like, yeah, I can hook it up for you. So it started out just helping out a few people, and then it grew to, a business actually installing antennas in the area. And then eventually I combined my antenna hobby and video production skills to create the Antenna Man YouTube channel, which I do full-time now. These are a few pictures of me as a kid. You may not be able to see it, but all the way to the right, that is a TV with rabbit ears. I brought that everywhere. Like whenever we would go places, I would just bring it. I even brought it to my brother's baseball games just to get like stations over the air. In the middle, this thing is something that you guys might not know about. Back in like 2008, 2009, there were a bunch of Chinese cell phones that had analog TV tuners built in them. And I had one. And it blew the mind of most kids in my school when everyone had flip phones and they were basically texting, and I'm watching WBRE Eyewitness News on there. And I just thought it was so cool that, there's talk about mobile TV with ATSC 3.0. I experienced it, 15 years ago, and it was so cool. This is a picture of in college. The antenna came with me. My roommates thought I was literally stealing the signal from the TV stations because they didn't understand that an antenna can get high-definition channels. They're like, no, this is stealing. You're stealing. I'm like, no, I'm not stealing. It even got me in trouble one time. This is a picture of when I put it on the fire escape, and I don't know if you have time to read the message to the right, but my landlord didn't like it. They said, can you please remove it by the end of the week? I removed it, but I put it back up every time I want to watch Judge Judy or, football. And these are some pictures of me installing antennas locally, on top of the rooftops, scanning. On the right, I actually used to have a portable TV, and I'd scan the roof to get the best signal. That's one of the keys to an antenna setup, is not just putting it up and hoping for the best. You really got to search around and make sure the place you install it at is the best spot for reception. So a little bit about my Antenna Man YouTube channel. I've been operating it full-time for about 4 years now. It has over 300,000 subscribers, reaches between 500,000 to 800,000 people each month. The videos include antenna reviews, reception tips, news about over-the-air TV, and just general fun stuff. I have a video about me using a beer can to get local channels over the air at a tailgate. That's a story in itself. If you want to know about it, ask me about it later, but it worked. I also directly help people cut the cord across the country in Canada with my antenna recommendation service. So if they go on my website, I can look up their address. And a huge props to Mark Colombo, Trip with rabbitears.info, one of the most accurate websites to run a reception report and see exactly what the signal is like. That has hands down helped thousands of people that I've worked with directly cut the cord. So the current state of free over-the-air TV, and this is, partially my opinion from someone who, is passionate about over-the-air TV, makes videos about it, engages with an audience on a daily basis. The antenna is making a comeback. People are seeking alternatives to expensive cable and satellite TV services. It's just not feasible to pay $200 for local channels, especially if that's all you really watch. Just set up an antenna and you can get them that way. Of course, it provides dozens of free channels in high definition. That's a common misconception about antennas, is that they think of the analog days where it's fuzzy, it's ghosting, and it's just bad. Some people thought antenna TV went away during the digital transition. Obviously, that's not the case. So people's minds get blown when they find out they can get better picture quality in cable and satellite. And new technologies like network tuners and DVRs enable easy access of local channels on all devices. So like the HD Home Run, for example, you connect it to your antenna, you connect it to the network in your house, and you can access it on any device, a Roku, Fire Stick, on your smartphone, even outside of your house. That's a cool technology, for free over-the-air TV. It's no longer that you just hook the antenna up to the TV and that's what you get. You can access it pretty much anywhere. And in general, I've noticed TV stations on the VHF band that don't have the best signal, they're improving their signal. They are applying for power increases. They're working on channel shares, translators, and stuff like that. They're aware that VHF is an issue, and I actually applaud the TV stations, including some owned by the big media companies that I don't know if they care about antenna TV. Apparently they do, if they're applying for power increases on their VHF signals. This is a screenshot of an article. It says about 20% of U.S. households own an antenna. That's up from about, of course, the metrics shift a bit. They change, they vary. I remember it was around like 10 to 12 or 15% around the digital transition. So the antenna is making a comeback. Unfortunately, some people fail to cut the cord the first time for a few reasons. There's very little information out there on antennas. I mean, for the average person, where do they go? Thankfully, my YouTube channel has filled the gap, but in general, there's like no information. You go to Walmart and Best Buy, they say, oh, you need an HD antenna. I mean, that's a rant I'm not going to get into, but there's just not much information out there. In general, they go on Amazon. Most things you buy on Amazon are good. You buy a charger, you buy a cable, it's going to work. Not the case with the antennas. It's flooded with a whole bunch of what I call junk antennas, just very basic crap from China. And excuse my language. I mean, that's literally what it is. And on top of that, people do one of a dozen things to mess up their reception. So let's say they get the right antenna. They can point it in correctly. They have the wrong amplifier. They hook it up incorrectly. They hook it up to the coax that's tied to their satellite dish. And there's a splitter that only passes through satellite frequencies. There's a dozen things they do to mess up their reception. And too many people, and this is what kills me, too many people give up trying an antenna because they purchased a 200-mile range antenna. I bought it off Amazon. It says 200-mile range. I didn't get anything. I'm in a dead zone. Not the case. And this is the problem. You go on Amazon, you type in TV antenna. This is not me searching down, through the search results. These are the first things that come up on Amazon when you type in TV antenna or HD antenna. And for those of you who aren't too technical, they just look like antennas. They are not good at all. They are probably some of the worst antennas on the market that you can get. You probably wouldn't even get all local channels here on the 14th floor with them. So I have a few issues with broadcast TV because they're partially to blame for the issues. There's very little marketing about free over-the-air TV. They just most local stations, what I've noticed, there's no information, probably because the big media companies don't want people to get their signal for free. They want to protect the retransmission fees they get on cable and satellite. Local TV, obviously, there's some exceptions. A lot of the LP TV operators, I really appreciate some of the programming you guys offer. But the big networks, I want to echo kind of what Kyle from Weigel said earlier today. There's not really much good, exciting programming on them. You watch like a network programming at 8 p.m. at night, it's like reality shows and really cheap game shows. Many people don't know over-the-air TV is an option as a result. So people who cut the cord, they're done with cable and satellite, they get Netflix, they don't know they can keep their local channels with an antenna, so they just stop watching them. That's not good. And as a result, the broadcast industry is losing millennials and Gen Z to streaming. Every time I meet someone at a bar or just through a friend, I tell them I'm a YouTuber. This is a conversation. It's like, oh, you're a YouTuber. That's awesome. What do you do? I talk about TV antennas. What? And then I'm like, you get free channels over the air, and it's the same conversation every time. And it made me realize that's a problem when you have two generations of people not tuned into your medium. And the problem is, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy or anything like that, but over time, broadcast TV, if they don't do something about it, they might lose their entire audience. I'm talking, 30, 40 years down the road. This is the demographic of my YouTube channel. It kind of echoes that point. You see, most of the demographic is 45, 55 plus, and that's not a problem. It's great that people are watching broadcast TV. But you look at the younger age groups, and this is just based off, my YouTube channel. This isn't the country as a whole. As a whole, it's probably in a very, very small percentage. So the future, this brings me into the future of free over-the-air TV. There's a lot of talk about ATSC 3.0 next-gen TV. Most of you are probably aware of some of the features of it, but I'll go over them real quick. Uses a more robust either COFDM, OFDM modulation, which is easier to pick up with indoor antennas and wooded areas. It's better resistant against multipath, which is the current modulation used on ATSC 1.0. In technical terms, it works better. It also supports more advanced codecs. Obviously, Anton in the presentation earlier talked about codecs on ATSC 1.0. That's a possibility, and I'm definitely open to it. But recently, ATSC 3.0 said we're willing to officially support these codecs. Single frequency networks to expand coverage with ATSC 3.0. If you don't have to worry about getting a separate RF channel to rebroadcast your station, you can use DTS, and supposedly it's easier. And modulation choices to expand coverage down all the way to QPSK to 4096 QAM. And I'm going to go over them real quick. I'll try to be brief on this because I have some other stuff to talk about. But this map kind of represents, it came from a Gates Air presentation at the NAB show, so credit to them. This represents ATSC 1.0, a map, and then the SNR needed to decode it. 15 dB, don't worry too much about technical things. Just think 15 is what you need to decode it. On ATSC 3.0, if you use a mod code 256 QAM for 15, you get more bandwidth. So ATSC 1.0, you get about 20 megabits per second. 3.0, you get 26 megabits per second. It's not that much of a difference, but the next few slides are pretty cool. So with QPSK, it can go all the way down to QPSK and decode all the way down to an SNR of 1.97 dB. Again, weaker signal can easily decode. The trade-off is you lose some bandwidth. So we're going from 26 megabits per second to 65 megabits per second, the payload. But obviously, the more advanced codecs, it's still possible to broadcast some stuff on there. And the difference is 42% of the map is shown with, basically ATSC 1.0 kind of replicated. 60% of the map shown with, QPSK. On the flip side, not as many people are talking about, but it needs to be a conversation. They can use a less robust modulation, which is 4096 QAM. And it requires an SNR of about 23 dB, and you can see that the coverage area goes from 60% to 34%. So there does have to be a conversation in general with ATSC 3.0 that there should be a minimum PLP requirement. I'm worried that, big media companies broadcast a Super Bowl in 4K and they put it on one of these less robust signals and go, oh, sorry, you can't pick it up. Well, guess what? You can get it on Peacock. So I was pretty excited about ATSC 3.0 when I first heard about it, with the better modulation schemes. This is a test I did in Pittsburgh. So I literally had an ATSC 1.0, ATSC 3.0 tuner and a capture card. Drove around Pittsburgh. 1.0 signal could never be decoded unless I was completely stopped. 3.0 signal stayed really solid. In fact, it was picked up 80 miles from the broadcast towers when no other 1.0 signals could be decoded. I bought a Zapper box. I picked up more channels when I was at NAB covering it. CES, actually. That was CES. So I set up an indoor antenna, ran a channel scan, and there were several networks that came in ATSC 3.0 that didn't come in on ATSC 1.0. And it's possible that the specific lighthouses where they were located made a difference, but it's just the fact that a 3.0 tuner got more channels. So what I did is when I discovered this throughout the years, whenever I recommend an antenna in a weak signal area, I gave a little heads up, say, hey, if you set up this antenna and you can't get all your local channels reliably, try an ATSC 3.0 tuner. The HD Home Run is for sale. It's about $200, but it'll get you that channel. And so I was recommending that, and people were pretty happy because they were like, yes, I can finally get CBS 6 or whatever it was. Unfortunately, that was a little short-lived. Around the same time, I noticed on rabbitears.info, and there were some discussions, some forums, that local TV stations started to encrypt their signal with something known as digital rights management, or DRM. And I didn't think much of it at first when I saw this, because what happened was I was told, I contacted Tableau, I said, hey, you guys have an ATSC 3.0 tuner, what's this mean for it? And they sent me to the A3SA website, which is basically the organization that deals with the security of it. I looked at the adopters, and I looked at the brands on there, and I saw, okay, Nuvio, that's Tableau, Samsung's on there, Silicon Dust is on there. These are all named BitRouter, like for Zapperbox. These are all names I know. This is fine. They're on the list. This is great. And then I started to get emails featuring images like this and this. And if you can't read it too quickly, it's basically they can't access their local channels because of the DRM. They're locked out of them. I mean, they can get them in ATSC 1.0, but in weak signal areas, they were locked out. It turns out these stations were adding DRM encryption while the only two set-top boxes on the market that people would purchase to switch to 3.0 couldn't decode them. And that kind of blew my mind. I didn't understand it. I tried emailing some stations saying, hey, can you explain this? No one was getting back to me. And the only way I actually got a hold of someone was Pearl TV reached out to me saying, hey, we see your YouTube channel. We would like to partner with you to promote Next Gen TV. I say, well, wait a second. I have an issue I got to talk to you guys about. So that led to a meeting. And they asked that I didn't record it. I screenshot it. I didn't record it. I screenshot it. And took notes, asked some questions. I really gave them the benefit of the doubt to explain the situation and all of that. And these were the points that they made, the broadcaster side of DRM. The first thing was the issue about DRM was that the set-top box manufacturers knew it was coming. And from what I've been told by the set-top box manufacturers, that wasn't the case, that it was only supposed to be used on secondary services like subscription tiers like ESPN or something like that. DRM is needed to keep valuable content free over the air. They're at the mercy of production studios. It's also needed to prevent piracy. They use that term piracy. I was explaining it's mainly to prevent another low cast from starting up, because with ATSC 1.0, it's easy just to get some HD home runs, put them in a network tuner, and then boom, the channels are all over the internet. That compromises the billions of dollars that these media companies make in retransmission fees, so they don't want that happening again. And I was also told that an internet connection is not needed to decode DRM encrypted channels, and that all standalone next-gen TVs will work just fine. You'll see a little star next to the last 2 points because they ended up not being true. They ended up not being true because this is directly from the ADTH set-top box, next-gen set-top box website. You won't be able to view encrypted channels without an internet connection. It clearly states it. So I don't know if that was a lie or just some kind of issue going on, but that's what ended up happening. And then some viewers of mine that had standalone standalone TVs, look for the next-gen logo. They were not decoding these DRM encrypted channels either. And not all of them. I mean, most of them were decoding them, but there were a few that were not. And I didn't know what it had to do, if it was a problem with the TV station or just, a software update. Some of them told me they had a direct software update, but they still couldn't decode the DRM encrypted channels. So this was an issue for me. And I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but I'm just sharing my experience with you guys so you guys are aware this is what's happening behind the scenes. So I made a video about it. Yeah, you see my face about how I felt about it. I made a video, and it actually got the attention from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a DC-based consumer advocacy group. They actually fought against the broadcast flag on ATSC 1.0. What actually happened was during American Gladiator in 2008, NBC put a broadcast flag out and stopped certain devices from recording that show. I'm afraid history might be repeating itself. At least it seems like it is. And you can look at, I love Meredith's face. She was not having it, so good for her. And as this happened, as I had the conversation with these people from Pearl TV and the A3SA, more and more stations started turning on DRM encryption. And I didn't understand. I was like, listen, you guys are locking out people from accessing your local stations. And the general consensus I got from these people who are leading this new TV standard is they just didn't care. They blamed everyone else for the problems. The manufacturers knew DRM was coming. Viewers should have bought a certified tuner. They bought the only ones that were available. Would you rather them not exist? TV manufacturers will fix the issues with an update. And my favorite thing, the media is blowing the DRM issue out of proportion. It's everyone else's fault except the people in charge. So specifically, and I'll wrap this up pretty quickly because I don't want to be, old man yelling at a cloud. My concerns about DRM encryption on ATSC 3.0 is that the red tape involved with the certification process in order for a tuner to get certified will limit the tuner options available for the consumer. It's already happened. Tableau canceled their ATSC 3.0 tuner. HE Home Run is trying to get certified, but it's not working because there's just so much red tape. And I spoke with a set-top box manufacturer at NAB. They had this cool set-top box, and they were trying to put to market for like $50. And I was like, this is cool. And I had to ask, are you guys certified? Are you going to get certified? And they told me, we don't know if we can afford it. We're evaluating our options. They told me how much it costs. It costs more than my house. And I was like, wow, that's ridiculous. So in theory, you have this great set-top box affordable for consumers. That's not going to be an option because of DRM. The same goes with HC Home Run. You can access it on any device. Apparently not an option, at least for now. Restrictions, it's going to cause restrictions on DVRs and network tuners. I talked about the HC Home Run, the broadcast flag. One interesting thing, and I'm going to try my best to explain this, Google Widevine is what's used to decode the DRM encryption on ATSC 3.0. It currently only works on a select few devices, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm getting this right, but it might be. If it's probably something like the Fire Stick and an Android set-top box. But if you have a Roku Smart TV, can't be decoded on that. If you have a Fire TV, can't be decoded on that. If you use Windows, can't be decoded on that. So it's going to cause a problem. Requires an internet connection in some cases. And this is an interesting point people aren't considering, is with DRM, it relies on constant updates from the manufacturer to make sure if the standard changes, that you can still decode the signal. So LG recently dropped ATSC 3.0 in their TVs because of a patent dispute. So someone in theory bought a 3.0 tuner from, 3.0 TV from LG, and they drop support. What happens when the standard changes because of DRM and LG doesn't update it? They don't get their channels. It also opens the door for TV stations to charge for their channels over time. And this is kind of more of like, I don't want to say it's a conspiracy, but it's a possibility that needs to be talked about. I hear all the time, oh, no network's going to do that. You got to trust us. Do you trust multi-billion-dollar media companies to do the right thing? Does anyone? I don't. And in general, everything I'm talking about, don't be scared. We're still in the very early stages of ATSC 3.0. Frankly, the rollout has been kind of botched, and it's just all the wrong decisions have been made. Part of me wonders if it's even going to be successful. I would like to be successful without the DRM, but if they're not willing to change, maybe we'd use Anton's approach of using different codecs on 1.0. So here's my vision for a bright over-the-air TV future. There need to be policies that limit DRM encryption, at least on the .1 linear broadcast. It's okay if it's on an ESPN or a certain pay-per-view game, but it shouldn't be on a local ABC affiliate when it's Family Feud and newscasts. I mean, that is just ridiculous. And then also require a minimum PLP, which is, the mod cods. So that way you don't have, a less robust mod cod where people actually lose the channels when they switch over to ATSC 3.0. Kyle Walker echoed that concern earlier. It's something that needs to be set. Again, trust us. I don't trust you guys. If that doesn't work, if they're set in stone on DRM, it's DRM or die. We're going to send our goons to Washington to lobby. And if it's not successful, let's just use more efficient codecs on ATSC 1.0 so at least we can offer more channels, good content for our over-the-air viewers. TV stations in general need to produce better content. I'm talking about the big networks. They're just kind of, ever since COVID, it seems like they've gotten lazy and just are using the lowest common denominator just to pass something over the air. From a point Kyle also made, just because they're getting the retransmission fees, what does it matter what our ratings are if we're getting half our revenue from retrans anyway? So they're getting kind of lazy. But in general, another thing that, and listen to this, any LP TV operators, TV stations need to do a better job promoting over-the-air TV and include a list of antennas on their website. So if you go to any TV station website, you're going to see, all information about what they offer, but there's never a tab about antennas. And when there is, there's not good information on it. It basically says run a rescan. That doesn't help in 99% of cases. So what would really help is just including a list of recommended antennas, just general tips, links to some helpful websites. I'm going to pick on you, Kyle, from MeTV right now. So this is what MeTV has on their website. And it's great because it's actually there. Antenna viewers might need to rescan to watch. Great, it's something, but it's mostly about running a channel scan. And again, if you don't have a good antenna, it's not pointed properly, wrong amplifier, all that stuff, it's not going to make much of a difference. And I always like to joke, "Ooh, just run a rescan." That doesn't work all the time. So tips to include on the website if you're a station owner, just say make sure your antenna is pointing correctly. Too many people just put it on the nearest wall and hope for the best. That's not going to work in 90% of cases. Try an antenna in different locations. I think some people understand this, that you should, try it in different locations, be open to trying it in different locations. But if that doesn't work, you could use a TV tuner or signal meter as a guide. I think too many people are using this approach. They're putting an antenna up, running a channel scan, hoping for the best. Putting an antenna up, running a channel scan, hoping for the best. Putting it and just moving it around and hoping for the best. It's insanity because in some cases, you will never find one spot just doing that blind approach. Using a TV tuner or signal meter tuned to like the weakest channel, moving around on the window until it's locked in is very helpful. So that's a point that should be made on the website. Recommend better antenna models. Just include a list of antennas, because you saw that one slide I had with the antennas on Amazon. The average person is doomed. If they go on Amazon, type in TV antenna, they are doomed. They need more information. If anything, you tell them to look up Antenna Man. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my YouTube channel is a good resource for people. Just look up Antenna Man. Any video they click on is going to give them better information than what they have now. So the best TV antennas out there, I'm going to share with you guys. I share with my YouTube channel. I'll share with all of you guys. The best indoor antenna is between the Channel Master Flat Antenna and the Clearstream models, the Clearstream 2V, Clearstream Max V. These I've tested out probably 50 different indoor antennas, and these are two of the best ones. The flat antenna, even though it's a mud flat antenna, it's got a good quality coax cable, works pretty well. The Clearstream antennas are more like small directional antennas that work inside. Very good. I was just discussing it, I believe, with you about the Clearstream antennas are good. Small outdoor antennas, three of the best ones are the Telvis Nova Mix, RCA Compact Yagi, and Clearstream 2V. I like the Clearstream 2V because it doubles as an indoor and outdoor antenna. You can set it up inside near the TV, you can put it in the attic, and if it doesn't work, you can put it outside. Medium-sized outdoor antenna, so this is kind of more for like suburban, like almost fringe locations. The Telvis Ellipse Mix. I really like the Telvis antennas because they have a built-in preamplifier, so it takes out the confusion of, do I need an amplifier? What amplifier do I need? I'm going to mess up connecting it. No, the Telvis Ellipse Mix just takes all that out of the equation. It has automatic gain control as well. And then probably the best large outdoor antenna I found was the Telvis Long Range Mix, LR Mix. This is one of the best antennas on the market. I'll talk antenna speak real quick. And I'm not a salesman for Telvis. This is all based on my personal experience and just helping my viewers get the best reception possible. The Telvis Ellipse Mix, it has a triple boom UHF elements optimized for repack frequencies, built-in preamplifier with automatic gain control, and out-of-band filtering. Non-technical terms, it's an innovative antenna that works very well. So in conclusion, today, free over-the-air TV provides easy access to dozens of local channels in most locations. With my antenna recommendation service, I found about between like 98 to 99% of areas, of course, exception and rural translator setup areas, can get their local channels free over the air. They just fail in several ways, as I've shown in this slideshow. Free over-the-air TV needs to be better promoted. It needs to be promoted. It's not being promoted. They're just letting, it's just a pet peeve of mine. I'm not going to rant much longer about this, but if you own a TV station, please start promoting it. You can do social media campaigns, especially try to target millennials and Gen Z, because very few of them are tuning in, and that poses a major problem long-term for the industry. ATSC 3.0 has potential. I'm not against ATSC 3.0, but it's going down the wrong path. That example I showed to you guys is just mainly to give you the point of view that the people running things don't have the viewers at heart. If they did, I told them, I was like, listen, I understand the DRM encryption. I understand that you're at the mercy of content providers. Why don't you either turn it off until, set-top boxes have a solution, or keep it on just one channel in the market? They just kept turning on more and more. So if they don't care about antenna viewers now, what makes you think they're going to care about it if this thing is mandated? And in general, there needs to be a discussion about the future and how to keep over-the-air TV thriving. I've discussed it. There needs to be a discussion. It can't just be how much money did we make this quarter, what did we make last year. We need to look at the long-term future of free over-the-air TV. So that concludes my slideshow. I actually did a lot better than I thought. I want to, give a big thanks to you guys having me on stage earlier because I had a little stage fright and now I'm just used to it. I was like, no, I've been here before. This is nothing. So I also have my information on there. If you guys have any questions about free over-the-air TV or how I can help or just anything, feel free to shoot me an email. You can go to my website. My goal is basically the same goal as most of you, is to help people discover free over-the-air TV and reach as many people as possible. This is such an underrated technology, and it saddens me that the younger generations like me aren't taking advantage of it because it has so much potential and, just needs to be better promoted, I'd say. So at this time, I'll take any questions if anyone has any. Well, listen, I appreciate everyone showing up here. I learned so much at this convention. Give all of yourselves a round of applause right now.
If you work in the broadcast industry, I strongly recommend checking out the NTA convention next May in Salt Lake City. While it's a smaller convention, you get so much more out of it than large trade shows like NAB. You'll even get the opportunity to meet me if you go. Be sure to bookmark nationaltranslatorsassociation.org and check it occasionally for when details about the next convention are finalized. I do know that it will take place in Salt Lake City. I want to give a huge thanks to the NTA for choosing me as their keynote speaker, along with my Patreon and channel members who helped me develop and practice my speech. With YouTube's recent decision to partially demonetize my channel, direct support from members like this ensure that I can continue to post videos on a weekly basis. So if my videos helped you cut the cord, please consider supporting them at patreon.com/antennaman by clicking the join button in this video or the thanks button.